Let's do it. Let's do it.
Boom. We are live. Hey, everybody. It's Will Middleton and Kurt Von Onen from LifterLMS. We're going to be live here for the next hour answering your pre-sales and getting started questions about LifterLMS. We're live on Facebook, StreamYard, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Wherever you see us, let us know in the chat where you're calling in from as we kick off the call. And any questions you have, feel free to queue those up as well. We'll be talking about anything tech, strategy, and just answering comments from our Facebook and our YouTube, as well as any questions that our live attendees have. But yeah, how are you doing this week, Kurt? It looks like a little bit of a different background. We're used to seeing you in the garage.
Yeah, it's so hot in California right now. And I was like, I'm going to be a little more transparent with you, Will. I don't know how many spiders gave birth in that garage, but it sure seems like a lot of them. There's little spiders falling down all over the place. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go in the house. And so my wife's out of the house. My son is actually house sitting a friend's house. And I can actually use the house. During the school year, they're homeschooled. So I was like, you guys can have the house and I'll take the shop. But no, I'm inside now. See, it's not so bad. It's kind of nice in here.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It looks like a nice place. And I'm inside as well. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit here in Athens today. And so I'm like staying inside, and it's not too bad outside now, I don't think. But earlier today, there was no going outside.
Crazy. So what time is it there? It's like 7 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah, 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm just going to call you on the carpet, man. I thought we were going to add one of those videos to we have the wine bottle in there, but we have that other video that I sent. You know, we need to open these things up with like a hey, LifterLMS.
Oh yeah. Is that in the brand area? I think we've got the wine bottle.
Yeah, in the brand area, we got the wine bottle. But this it's good for. That works if you're, if it's 9 o'clock at night somewhere, but it's still 11 o'clock here in California. So, I thought we'd go with the non-drinking theme. We have comments. We've got Adam Silver is in bright and early on the call, man. You already put it up there, didn't you? SoCal heat ain't nothing. It's not the heat. It's the humidity. So, yeah. And he's training to run another one of those crazy races of his. So I would imagine he's probably running at midnight. If he's running at 11 o'clock in the afternoon, he's crazy. We got another one. Martin Phillips, welcome to the call. He says he has a few questions. Best thing you can do, man, is throw some specific questions right into comments, and we can begin to address those. But you're asking for a demo with a dashboard and talk about payment gateways, and so we can definitely look at that. And Will, I want to point it out, man, because people get confused on the dashboard. It's the dashboard is a system page in LifterLMS that shows people, their courses and their achievements, and it's kind of like the gateway for a user that's registered or enrolled to access the things that their enrollment gives them access to. But a lot of folks also use WooCommerce with LifterLMS, and then they get confused as to which account page or which dashboard they're going to show to people. And remember that when you have a WooCommerce integration, you're probably going to use the WooCommerce My Account page, which will have the additional WooCommerce features built around the LifterLMS embeds as well. Mm-hmm. And look at Will, he's ahead of the game. He's already got the thing up on the screen.
Absolutely. We have the, like Kurt said, we've got the student dashboard here, and then there's also, I guess, the WordPress dashboard. This area back here is also called dashboard. But yeah, like Kurt said, if you're working with the WooCommerce install, the dashboard is going to be the My Account page from WooCommerce, and Lifter adds some items over there. But Martin, yeah, feel free to drop those questions in the chat if you have any more specific questions, and we'd be happy to talk about payment gateways and all that, and how you can set them up with LifterLMS.
Yeah. One thing that I think we could show right away, Will, that, he didn't ask for, but it's something that comes up. It used to never come up, and now it comes up with a lot of the clients I talk to now. And that is just how, where in LifterLMS settings and course, is it accounts. Yeah, LifterLMS settings and accounts is where you can delete some of those items that come up on the dashboard. I'm getting a lot of folks that like want to remove the My Grades link, or because they're giving they're selling courses, but not necessarily selling certifications or tests, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they want to remove that. So anything that you remove in those fields disappears from the menu. And that's one of the ways that you can customize the dashboard appearance that you're gonna see with stuff. Now, dashboard appearance is generally maintained by the theme. We get people that ask that too. They're like, well, how can I change the appearance of this or the appearance of that? Well, it's a short code from the LifterLMS side, and it just populates that blank space and adopts the look and feel of your theme.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, Will.
Yeah. So it adopts like your header, footer, the styles for your content. It's going to take the sidebar, so all those general settings. And LifterLMS has some default CSS to design the content within that little dashboard widget. But then themes like Astra and Cadence, themes that specifically know about LifterLMS and support it, will pile on their own CSS, and then it won't look anything like what LifterLMS looks like out of the box. And they'll style it up in their theme way.
Cool. Payment gateways. We already mentioned WooCommerce, and then LifterLMS has a native payment gateway that's available, right? So LifterLMS can work with PayPal, Stripe, Authorize.net, and then of course it can connect through a WooCommerce integration, which unlocks literally hundreds of payment sources. And so the main thing is just figuring out what your use case is, and then going for something, the most simple answer to your problem. So I'm a big fan of Stripe. I think Will's in the same boat as me on this one. If you're only selling digital products and you're not selling coffee mugs, tapestries, carpets, and t-shirts, then I would recommend just going with Stripe, hooking it up on the native Lifter gateway. It accepts subscriptions that way, and the LifterLMS access plans control the access to all the digital content. And it's simple. You go into Stripe, you get your API codes out of there, you dump them into the settings, and activate the plugin in the feature.
Right. So payment gateways, super simple. All you need to do is get the API key from Authorize.net or Stripe to connect it. And then like PayPal's a little more complicated because you have to dig around in the settings to find this MVP SOAP credential, but we have a tutorial on how to do that. So you can follow along click by click on how to find the credentials for PayPal. And then WooCommerce, like you said, Kurt, can integrate with anything you want to integrate with WooCommerce. So it really opens up the world there for payment gateways.
At the risk of upsetting some people,
mm-hmm.
the WooCommerce thing to me can become a more integrated, deep question. And that's because when you get into the WooCommerce arena, you'll realize a lot of the things that you want to do require additional WooCommerce tools. For example, if you just want to sell the course one time and done, WooCommerce works great. Like you can hook up the integration and your payment gateway, and boom, you can sell stuff. But if you want to have a subscription with recurring billing, then you need to have the WooCommerce subscriptions add-on. And right there it says it's $20 a month. So I think it's $240 a year, $230 a year. Yeah, billed annually. So those are just some pitfalls that if you're just starting, if you're just getting started, you want to get a full picture of what you're looking at for your expenses before you double down and build something crazy and then realize that you can't do recurring payments. You want to know those answers before you get started. You want to jump onto Alexa's question? I saw you started to share that earlier.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Martin, feel free to drop more questions in the chat around payments, what you're trying to create for your LMS site. We might be able to recommend some specific tools. And in the topic of recommending specific tools, Alexa here in chat was asking around the idea of building an online course for primary school children, 5 to 11 years old. Main content concern is that the activities are interactive and created on another platform. So being able to embed the activities in the LifterLMS WordPress website, is there a way to do that? I would ask more specifically, does that happen to be SCORM content? I would assume so. Most of the time when we mention interactive content, we're talking about something that's not an MP4, something that's not an MP3, images, JPEG, PDF. It's usually going to be that SCORM content, like that advanced massive HTML file with a ton of interactivity. So I don't know, Alexa, if you could put in chat, is that SCORM content with articulate storyline, or is it, what is that?
Rise,
Yeah.
Captivate, even
Yeah.
H5P can kind of fall into that category, right?
Oh yeah. And Alexa said, I believe so. Yes. So for that advanced content from Articulate, Captivate, Storyline, whatever you're authoring with, you can embed that right into. Oh, there's genial.ly. I've never heard of that one, but I'll look that up here in the background and see if it's kind of a SCORM based learning package. And so you usually with I'm going to talk as if it is SCORM content. I'll look it up a little more specifically, but Kurt just posted a link here about how to use SCORM inside of your WordPress website. That's a blog post written by Kurt on our team, actually, about the SCORM content integration and the power that can unlock for your lessons in interactive content. And the challenge with interactive content is if you're looking for reporting on that content, because of course you can just take massive amount of HTML or even a SCORM file and embed it into your WordPress instance and just show the content, just like you show an MP4, show an image on the page. But if you're looking for that advanced interaction piece, that's going to take it a step further with a newer blog post we released, also written by Kurt, around SCORM and XAPI. So I don't know, Kurt, do you think you could give us some more details around thinking in terms of this advanced e-learning content with SCORM and how we integrate that into WordPress?
I think the things that people need to recognize, and you kind of alluded to it, right? It's understanding it's the why, right? So there's the what, right? So we want to provide this kind of training to our audience. And then the next immediate question should be the why and the how. And a lot of folks will just dive in with both feet and start getting involved in the SCORM stuff. And not that SCORM's bad. I don't want to say that it's bad, but it does take a lot of resources and it takes a little bit of babysitting to run that. And so if you just want to play the content, you can hook up GrassBlade. That first link that I put in there will get you going. We'll get the content in the website and all that's great. What some folks will do is they'll play the SCORM content in the website, and then they'll actually do the quizzing or the testing attached to that course within LifterLMS. So then all the reporting stays based in the native LifterLMS reporting, which can be a real godsend for simplicity. But if you have to use the quizzing, the interactivity, and the testing generated by that SCORM content, then you need to go after the second link that we've put in here, and that is using a learning record store in addition to LifterLMS. So what that is the place that's playing that embedded SCORM content, it tracks all the activity in that thing, and that's called a learning record store. And then that learning record store has to sync with LifterLMS and populate the reporting for you. So it's just an extra step in getting things to connect and play.
Absolutely. And in chat, Alexa wrote, it's just a URL embed. So I guess the Genial tool will just give you a URL you can embed, and that should work in WordPress, just embedding the content just like a video. If it works on a WordPress poster page, it'll work inside of a lesson or course in Lifter. It just doesn't have the reporting feature. So like Kurt mentioned, you'll want to use quizzes or assignments from Lifter in order to make sure students are learning the content and that they're absorbing what's in your media.
It is hard to do a knowledge check on a 5-year-old, though.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I think some of the students, some of the people, I don't know, when I was 5 to 11 years old, WordPress would still be very hard, but they might know how to run the back end of the WordPress site better than
the other thing that's really cool to think about, Alexa, and I don't want to take off on too much of a tangent, but we're doing good on time. It's only 20 minutes into the hour. Zoom integration used to be just 2-3 years ago, it seemed like that was cutting edge if you could embed Zoom into your website. But now you've got things like WP Stream, where you can stream almost any kind of video source into your website. And there's tools like Jitsi and Whereby and some of these other like browser-based solutions where you can actually embed these live video sessions right into your site. And so what I train a lot of my clients to do is to embed those video features into the course and lesson format. And then that enables them to use the membership and enrollment features to filter out the viewers and track people's progress, which is really, really cool. So you could do the interactive content, you could do live content to make sure that, that there's information retention, make sure that their eyes are open and they're getting the idea. I know that working with kids, sometimes you like to see that real-time interactivity come back through the screen.
Right. And you can always engineer the user experience with LifterLMS and the block editor and WordPress. There's a lot of power to designing the experience. And I see some people will go to town with the dashboard page like we were talking about, and modifying what course pages look like and just changing the user flow. Because while LifterLMS has an out-of-the-box solution for how you enroll in a course, for how you view a lesson page, I've seen some people, specifically in traditional education, really engineer the user experience with the power of WordPress. But it does take a little bit of deeper WordPress knowledge to understand, what a lesson page is and how we're going to link to the lesson page from the dashboard and all this kind of stuff. But it is possible, and lifterlms.com/docs/shortcodes is a really useful resource for people who do want to engineer. Oh, maybe I typed that wrong.
Oh, you're so fast.
Oh, yeah, I typed shortcode wrong. Shortcode. There we go. This page has a lot of good resources for you, LifterLMS/shortcodes. It's one of our most popular pages. What one was I looking for? It was the continue course option. There's so many of these. I don't even hear course continue number 5. I've seen this used a lot. This shortcode, LifterLMS course continue button, course ID 123. So this shortcode allows you to put, like on your student dashboard, a link to continue a course, and then you specify that course ID where it says 123. You would change 123 with your course ID. You can find a course ID, of course, in the URL bar whenever you're editing a course, lesson page, anything in WordPress. In the URL bar, we see mine's 2798. So this is a lesson, but if it was a course, I would put 2798 here, and that would take people to continue their course in that way. I've seen learning tools for schools like, what was that one called? It was like a K through 12 learning platform where you had, it's one of those like massively interactive platforms like IXL Learning or something like that. That sort of platform.
K12.org.
Yeah, there's all those. I haven't been to this website in a long time. I'm sure they've changed how this works, but this is like one of those super interactive websites, and you can design user experiences like this in Lifter, but it does take a little bit of extra work and page builders and graphics design and all this stuff, but it can run on top of the Lifter system for some advanced stuff.
Looks like you're going back to the dashboard, son.
Oh yeah, jumping back over to the dashboard. To Martin's question, let me stop my screen share. I've got a lot of windows going. As far as
managing the users, Martin, and I'm sure that we can do a screen share and show some of that. One of the things I really like about LifterLMS is it really is just using the user's database directly in WordPress. So there's no magic to learn there. Some other things can get loaded into your site and act like a platform and have separate databases and stuff. But LifterLMS is just based on the WordPress user account. And so that's why you have to have an email at the minimum, right? So you have to have a username and an email, and they're just a user, and the roles can change. So we have a resource called Roles and Capabilities. I'll go ahead and look up that link and put it into the comments for us. But with Roles and Capabilities, that's kind of how our system restricts content based on somebody's role, and then of course their enrollment, like how the system is kind of giving them what they're enrolled to. So if you want to manage users, you just go to the users in your WordPress dashboard, and you're able to edit, change, modify, add, delete through there. I guess the next question is going to be where they would find the reporting or the activity that somebody does, and that would definitely be within the LifterLMS reporting menu. So if someone's active in a course or active in a lesson, their progress will be stored in reporting, and you can see their progress right in the reporting menus that are in the LifterLMS main menu.
Right. So over here under LifterLMS reporting, there's a tab that gives you an overview of your courses and memberships and quizzes and assignments, like Kurt had mentioned. So you could see sales reporting if you want to see high level what users are buying in the last 7 days, this month. This is a test website, so I haven't had great metrics here.
And
If I say this here, yeah, there we go. Okay, that's
there we go.
One sale, $3,000. That it's not very
Well, high ticket items, man, they take a long time to turn the process of a sale.
Absolutely. But yeah, you can see an overview of your courses. You can see students that are enrolled in the courses, the average progress, and then average grade. Just some interesting statistics for when you have a lot of students. And then LifterLMS also has an orders menu over here on the left side. And this would be different, like Kurt mentioned, if you're using WooCommerce. WooCommerce will have its own e-commerce tracking capabilities. But if you're using the Lifter out of the box, we also have some simple e-commerce tracking capabilities, like an orders list where you can manage everything and see everything coming in. And Martin had another question about the notifications that admins get when students are enrolled in a course. If we head to LifterLMS settings notifications, we can see these are all the notifications for the website that are set up. Let me see. We have a student welcome that's going to go to the student via email. I think there's an enrollment one. Yeah, here it is, enrollment. If I click email here, I can customize the email. So this is going to be student name enrolled in title. That's going to be the title of the course. This is an email that goes out to the author. I didn't have the box checked, so currently no notifications will go out. But if I wanted to get an email as a website owner, I would maybe check additional recipients and then type my email right here. So that way I could check course author gets a notification, whoever created the course on my website. Most of the time it's going to be you as the admin, but with Lifter, like Kurt mentioned, with the roles and capabilities, you can have other people creating courses on your website. So that's where this author box would come in, where if Kurt authored a course on my website, he could get an email about enrollments, and then I could also type my personal email here so I get a notification as well in that use case.
Yeah, and then in a related issue, Martin asked, what's the difference between a basic notification and an email notification? And LifterLMS it's almost pretty, like, they've had this forever. And I remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And now it's like more common. But it's when someone has an activity within the website, usually in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there'll be a pop-up notification that'll say, you're enrolled in this course, or you're enrolled in this membership, or you've completed this test, or you've finished this quiz. And those are the basic notifications. And then the emails are the email confirmations that go out from the site as a transactional email based on that trigger. Now, that's not the only way to get messaging from LifterLMS. We also have engagements, which is different. We've had people get confused over this in the past. There's notifications, which is enrolled in a course. Then there's engagements, and engagements are more of I'm going to say it's more of like a custom application where you could say, I want to send this certificate. So you would generate make a certificate, and then you would say, I want to send this certificate to anyone that finishes this course the day after they finish the course. And then that would be an engagement that you would put in place. And engagements can be emails, they can be certificates, they can be, and they're triggered by certain activities that the user has within the site. So it's not like a marketing email sent by a CRM. It's very much a specific message or action that happens based off a specific trigger from the user within the website.
Right. And I wanted to show here real quick the notification, the basic. I enrolled myself in a course, so I should have a pop-up in the upper right when I view the front end. Yeah, there it is. Congratulations, you enrolled in the course. So this pop-up, like
basic.
That's the basic notification.
So basic.
And we don't have sound effects on those, but if you did want to take those to the next level, adding sound effects, adding advanced features like that, GamiPress is a very popular one for building gamification. They have their own pop-up system, achievements. It's for like gamifying WordPress. So LifterLMS has gamifications built in, like Kurt mentioned, with the email and the pop-ups and the achievements and this kind of thing. So it's but relatively basic. If you explore tools like GamiPress, you'll see all the crazy stuff you can do, like leaderboards and progress trackers and maps and all this stuff that's really above and beyond what a traditional LMS does out of the box. But the nice thing about WordPress is that you could use Lifter and GamiPress together to, if you really wanted to make your site like a game, you could really take it to the next level with that GamiPress. And then I don't know if we got this question from Martin. Also, when I've been testing login, is there a way to redirect to a courses page on login? When you log in as a student, we have that student dashboard page. And if a user is logged out, they will see a login form on this page. If I, let me just copy my dashboard URL and log out. Logged out true, then go back to my dashboard. We should see a login form here. And when you log in here, you'll be redirected over to that dashboard, or you're not really redirected, you're on the same page. It just shows you different content when you're logged in. It shows you your courses, your memberships. But if you wanted to redirect people to a different page, you could use probably, I mean, there's a couple ways to do it. There's a plugin called Peter's Login Redirect. I think it might have changed, but it still says Peter's Login Redirect. Peter's Login Redirect. This one's really nice for redirecting people globally. So I guess formerly Peter's Login. It's now called Login WP. But this one is nice for creating login, logout, redirect rules, specifically logout redirects. LifterLMS does not have a feature to redirect people who log out, but Lifter does have a feature on that same shortcodes documentation I was sharing a little bit earlier. We have a login shortcode that you could use as well as a redirect. So instead of using the dashboard page, you could create a custom login form and redirect people to a certain URL. So you have two options. You could do a shortcode with a login form, or you could do a free plugin like this to redirect all users when they log in.
Dude, you're like the amazing Kreskin. You basically just answered the question from the incognito, indiscernible Facebook user.
Oh, yeah.
Regarding SkyPilot, how do I create a login header menu that looks different from the logout menu? And it's like, well, you can create a custom whatever and slap a shortcode in there. It could look like whatever you want it to look like.
Right. Let me stop my screen share real quick and log back into that site, and I'll show you a little bit about, this is a question I had this week too, of creating a menu for logged in users and a menu for logged out users. That's different. I have to go find my password, but it should be loaded now. Cool.
Sure is a good thing we just talk about simple things on these calls.
Let's see. So editor, if I jump into the editor, like the Facebook user is talking about, we have LifterLMS SkyPilot is a new theme from LifterLMS included in the Universe bundle and our Infinity bundle, or it can be purchased individually. SkyPilot is a theme built on top of what we call the block editor. So in WordPress, we have the block editor for pages and posts. And now with full site editing, I think I might have said it's built on top of the block editor. It's built on top of something called full site editing, which is this interface we're looking at here. Usually, if you're using an Astra theme or a Cadence theme or something like that, you're used to seeing a section called Customizer. Appearance Customize takes you into this Customizer interface where you can change your header colors, your backgrounds, your sidebars, all this kind of thing. In WordPress moving forward, in the next 5 years, we're going to see a lot more of this, and we're already seeing it in the core themes of WordPress. But it's this full site editor. So instead of the customizer, we're going to come here to what's called the full site editor. Lifter SkyPilot's built on top of this interface. And so changing things like a header, I went really fast there. Let me go back. Changing things like a header would be going to appearance editor and then dropping into template parts. We have templates, which would be our 404 page, our home page, lesson pages, all this kind of stuff. But then there's parts of templates, which would be like a header and footer. And if I wanted to modify my header, I would just click on header edit. And of course, this block editor interface, I'll open up the left-hand navigation to make it a little bit easier on myself. All kinds of nesting layouts going on. So I like to use this navigation at the top to see what's going on my page. But we have a navigation menu, and this is going to be displayed to people who are logged in and people who are logged out. So if I wanted to duplicate this and create a logged in menu, I could. And the way I would do that would be to, let me actually duplicate the whole group. I would duplicate this group. And a group has an option in LifterLMS, which is nice. The group block is basically a wrapper around other blocks. So a group could have a bunch of blocks in it, like this group at the top has a ton of stuff included, or it could just have one item, like I have a navigation item inside of this group. And so what I would do on the group settings over on the right would say enrollment visibility. This is going to be viewed for logged in users. And then the second one is going to be for logged out users. Logged out users. So now I have, it's a little bit cramped over here because my screen is kind of zoomed in a lot. But if I zoom out a little bit, we can see this menu here is going to be visible to logged out users. And this one's going to be visible to logged in users. So now I can edit the items in my navigation for the appropriate logged in or logged out users. Boom. Awesome.
Raise the roof.
Raise the roof moment. That's a really interesting way to do it. And there are options. I thought there was a visibility on menu items, but I didn't see that visibility on menu items. So I just recommend the group. Create one menu for people logged in, one menu for people who are logged out. And me and Kurt are specifically excited about this because you used to have a page builder to do this. You have to get an Elementor or a Divi or Beaver Builder or something on top of your general WordPress install in order to be able to do a logged in, logged out menu. But the nice thing is, or a plugin, some plugins did this. But now you can do it with WordPress out of the box. And going forward, it's going to be easier and easier with these full site editing themes to modify deeper features in a website without needing a page builder or extra plugins.
The other thing to graft onto with this, Will, that I think some people might not have put two and two together on yet is you can add template parts, or you can add, templates to the full site editor. So, you could have, for instance, just as a great example of this is when you get SkyPilot, there's two footers. There's the long footer and the short footer that are part of your template parts. And then those parts can be added to different template pages according to the use case that you have. So you might not want that, that big full header on all of your lesson pages, right? So you have a short footer on your lesson pages, and then the extended footer on all of your content pages. And so those are just things that you can do. Whereas, like he said just a moment ago, you used to have to go into Elementor and be like, add another template part, add another template this, add, and then figure out the appearance conditions for where you wanted that templated piece to show up. This is a very similar thing, but it's right in WordPress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm really excited about the block editor moving forward. I create a lot of content about Elementor, page builder topics, and they definitely let you go more advanced than what the block editor does currently. But the gap is getting less and less. Like, you can still do things like motion effects and padding control and margins and this kind of stuff in Elementor and these page builders that you can't do in the WordPress editor yet. But like just even a year ago, you weren't able to edit your headers and footers in the WordPress page builder, and now you are. So it just, the difference between using WordPress out of the box and using a page builder is getting less and less, even though page builders still have a lot of good functionality, and I sometimes use them on client sites where I need to customize a lot. On my own personal sites and on most client sites, I try to encourage them to use this block editor for as much as possible, like as much of a project as they can, without using a page builder, just to avoid a dependency on another company. It is a part of the tech stack. Yeah, I'm excited about the page builder and the future of it. There's more collaborative features coming along and some interesting technical stuff coming down the line regarding how these blocks work and patterns and reusable blocks. Cool stuff in the block editor. It's a very, very cutting edge new thing. So there's not a lot of tutorials and content around it. I see more and more tutorials and content coming out every day, but it's a really cutting edge tool. So it's fun to get in and play around with if you're the kind of person who likes to experiment and try out new tools.
And not to be like just this huge distraction, but sometimes you're like what Will was describing, like it doesn't have all of this, doesn't have all that. Remember, there are third-party tools out there that maybe you employ and add another dimension to your editing ability within the platform. For instance, if you're an Astra user, it's a common extension to add Spectra, and Spectra gives you extra design cues that don't necessarily come with WordPress. So if I want to have more control over shades of color or certain padding and margins and things like that, or more font control, then maybe I want Spectra on my website as well with my Astra theme.
For sure. And like you said, font control, gradients on text, there's still some of these things that these additional add-ons have that aren't in the WordPress core yet. But over time, I think they'll be integrated in. We did have a question on last week's live stream that was like commented later. Let me see if I can put this up on screen. I'll just post it here in StreamYard and then just highlight it. Boom. So this isn't a question from me. This is a question from someone else, but I just posted it in chat. So I'm really curious about this. For months now, I've been trying to find a site to sell classes. My classes are 3 sessions long and can be about 2 hours for each session. I want students to be able to download handouts for the courses they've signed up for. And there's a second part to the question, another paragraph. Let me grab that. Post it in StreamYard. Second part of the question. It's my understanding that LifterLMS uses an alias from some place like Vimeo or YouTube where I can store my large files with dedicated video hosting and then embed them in LifterLMS. That is correct. So for video hosting, it's not usually recommended to put this in your media library because it can slow down your website. It's less secure. It's much easier for people to share the files in your media library. By hosting it on a YouTube, maybe unlisted, or a Vimeo Pro, you can control the branding of your video. You can control, you can see more statistics on your video, plays and your likes and plays and downloads, all kinds of things within the video hosting interface. And then it's also just a lot faster because the Vimeo YouTube servers are configured to deliver video files rather than your WordPress sites more configured to deliver the HTML, JavaScript, CSS content that generates your website. So it's nice to offload some of these large files to a video host platform. And then the second question is, do you have people who can recommend to create a website either on an existing domain or a fresh new one, if that's easier? So absolutely. We have lifterlms.com/experts is a great place to find someone to help build your website out. You could also post in our Facebook group. I know we have a lot of active users in there. But lifterlms.com/experts is a great place to go to see service providers who build websites, build LMS installs, can configure your payment gateways, your WordPress setup, recommend a good theme, and all this kind of stuff for you as kind of an additional service if you don't want to do it yourself. We do have tutorials on YouTube, our own YouTube, about creating a website from scratch. So we do have some educational content, but if you did want to hire that out, lifterlms.com/experts is a great place to go.
I'm a big fan of the experts. I refer them out a lot.
Yeah, I was on a call today recruiting another LMS expert from Lagos, Nigeria. So hopefully we'll see some more LMS experts coming in the space, providing some of these services that we don't provide directly at Lifter, like website install, website setup, that kind of thing.
The big thing for me is, and I see this more and more, Will, and so I want to say it in a positive way, right? So, I mean, I just saw a comment on our own Facebook page where someone was asking questions about a CRM, and then another user is like, "Oh my gosh, I see all your questions, and I worry. Is LifterLMS enough?" And it's like, well, enough for what? Like, what's your use case? What are you trying to do? That's one of the things that always comes to me, and that is like Lifter is great for learning content. That's what it's for, right? It has great reporting. It can manage the other content in your site for like access. So picture like you have a company that sells a technical product. So you could have like some blog material, educational material, that would be published for internal employees. And you could have those sectioned off as a different role or a membership, and only those people can access that content or those posts. And then you could have stuff that goes to the general public, and then you could have stuff that goes, for marketing purposes. And you can really get specific. And LifterLMS is a really great tool for that. But we run into people that are like, well, I want to connect it to my company's, HR departments, reporting processes and Dynamic 365. Well, LifterLMS wasn't designed to connect 100% of the users out there to Dynamic 365. And so those are those instances where having a team of, vetted professionals that we can recommend you to go, oh, hey, I need to connect to this, or I need to connect to that, or I need an integration, or I need I want my certificates to generate something completely different than a certificate that comes in the system. I understand that you have that request, but you kind of have to understand that it's outside the scope of the original use case of what the product was built for. So that's why we have all those really cool folks that can help you out with that stuff. And sometimes you got to hire it out.
For sure. Yeah, and there's a lot packed into the LifterLMS software on top of WordPress, and it's interesting as I learn more about development and playing around with custom code and making tools and products, is that there's a big difference between a developer who works on a single website install and a developer who works for a product company that distributes their software to tens of thousands of websites like LifterLMS. Because the one developer on a single website would have to concern about, is the code that we're going to deploy going to work on this one website? Yes or no? So it's a little bit of a simpler question. And then if you look at a product company, we're asking the question, is this code going to work or cause any conflicts with the tens of thousands of websites that this is installed on? Like, it's just such a bigger picture. And not only do we have just one company providing software like Lifter, you've got WooCommerce, you've got other third-party ecosystem partners, and even WordPress itself, that's also making these decisions. So we frequently see technical conflicts and bugs and these kind of things pop up between the tools as people are trying to create learning engagements for end users on top of this platform. So sometimes if you were to hire a developer, or if you're trying to integrate with Articulate, like you said, Kurt, in an advanced way, it's going to be much faster for you to hire a developer for your one install in order to write the code to make that work, because they don't have to worry about how that code is going to affect every other website. They can just get that set up for you, and it's going to be much faster of a time horizon than for a larger LMS company to deploy that kind of feature, just to make sure everything's compatible and things don't break massively. And often what we see is third-party companies come up, like Grassblade, for supporting that LRS content, and then they have that integration with Lifter. So we see more companies pop up around the e-learning content that build integrations with Lifter, and there's just more of an integration culture going on. So you could do the integration culture method, or you could do custom development in order to get your outcome. There's a few opportunities there.
All right. We got a few minutes left. If anyone's got any questions or comments, it'd be awesome to see you in here. Will and I are kind of losing our mojo for making stuff up.
Let's see. I can hop into the Facebook group as well. I've jumped on YouTube. It looks like we got caught up on our YouTube comments. Another question here. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I just went through the Facebook page. I didn't see anything super interesting. What do you got?
Yeah, I see a few questions. Let me make sure this thread is awesome. There's a plugin conflict on that one. So I want to read the question before I read it out loud on screen. So I'm like reading it in my head. It's a good question. Okay, so if I have a client's website, or this person has a client website that has thousands of customers, and we're trying to, they're using the Lifter Stripe integration, so LifterLMS Stripe directly. If they wanted to move on to WooCommerce and track more information about coupon tracking, reporting through WooCommerce and Google Analytics and stuff like that, how would we do this with current users? That's a question that comes up a lot. I've heard it come up, not a lot, but just a few times, of migrating one install from another. I've seen it done manually a few times, but usually my recommendation is to leave the one running in the background like the Lifter LMS Stripe install. Don't get rid of it. Just leave it running in the background, and then get your new customers onto WooCommerce, and then wait for the Lifter LMS Stripe subscriptions because over time people churn out of a long-term product timeline. We talk about like churning is when you have like a yearly subscription or a monthly subscription and people choose not to renew. Usually churn rates, they're about like 50% the first year, 50% the second year, as an approximate measure. I can stop sharing my screen too. As an approximate measure, about 50% per year people cancel their subscription. And so this might sound kind of like a not a great answer. It's like, what, you don't have a solution to migrate all these subscriptions and manage all the data? But this is also how like companies do this in WordPress and tech. I was at a dinner here in Athens where a company was talking about how they're going to migrate to a new payment service, and that's exactly how they're going to do it. They're going to set up their new payment service while leaving their legacy payment service active in the background until there's no more subscriptions in the legacy service, and then they'll get rid of it. So it's a pretty common practice to do that. And like Kurt had mentioned, thinking ahead about what tool you're going to be using for your subscriptions, whether it's going to be WooCommerce or LifterLMS, is a good thing to put some deep thought into as to what gateways you're going to invest in for your platform.
Yeah, I think it's really important to mention here, because as you're talking, people that aren't familiar with the process, right, they'll go, well, that's really stupid. How come there's not an integration to just move that? Or how come there's not a migration tool that's made? How come there's not a third party, like all-in-one migration tool, right? Like a click and it works. And that's because Stripe is attached to their payment details. And those payment details aren't stored in your site. Like you don't locally store that stuff. And by its nature, you shouldn't have access to it. And so you don't have a way to copy that data and migrate it into another database. There are different, I've seen some custom websites that were made in the past where their database operated differently and they were able to, manipulate databases. But I mean, I had a guy in Pakistan do a site for me, and it was supposed to take 3 days, and it took like 9 days to move everything over. And even then, it wasn't a super clean migration. There were still a lot of data points that had fallen off. So rather than alienate customers or do something that's potentially unsafe with their financial status, it's much better to just let the legacy stuff run and time it out. Or be really, really brave, right? Because you could just say, great news, everybody, we're updating our systems and we would love for you to, update your payment information in our new payment gateway. But there's going to be a certain amount of churn whenever you add that level of friction. And that's what people are trying to avoid. They're trying to avoid the people not renewing.
Right. And I think when you first start out with a migration like that, you've got your 1,000 paying customers who are on the Lifter Stripe gateway. And then you think this is going to take forever for them to get down. But if, the churn rate, if we say 50% per year, which is pretty average to good, you got 500 next year, 250 to next year, 125, then 50, then 25. And now with thousands of subscriptions, you're really paring down over the next, 7 years. And to talk about timelines in tech as like a period of 7 years sounds like it's forever, but it's really not. When you have a business with thousands of paying customers, talking in time horizons of 5 and 10 years is actually pretty normal.
Well, and at some point as a business owner, you're going to make the business decision to say, okay, at what level will we turn this off? When we get to 500 users, we'll discontinue the legacy. You'll come up with a policy or a process on your own. But again, just when you're talking about people's money, their credit cards, their accounts, it's actually better that you don't have control or access to any of that.
Right. Because that control and access can become a liability as far as like responsibility over how that data is managed. And as we see more and more privacy laws and all this kind of stuff being handled, it's much nicer to have third-party companies handle and store that data. For example, you could build a custom reporting interface on top of your website because you're pulling in data about users' email, username, all this kind of stuff. But it'd be much better to use a third-party service and then disclose that you're using a third-party service and what data is sent to them in your privacy policy than try to manage that on your own servers. it makes data breaches and all that kind of stuff a lot harder. We're kind of talking about some really high level, really high level stuff, but we do have some high level. I'm in the Office Hours Mastermind Facebook group, so it's the Infinity Bundle customers with a lot of higher level kind of challenges like that. Which I guess we could do a pitch for the LifterLMS add-ons. If you're interested in buying an add-on, you see a 15% off coupon code on screen, LifterLMS Live. That's going to be our new coupon code. You can use that 15% off your first year of any LifterLMS add-on or bundle. So yeah, and like I was talking about with our Office Hours Mastermind Facebook group, that's our Facebook group separate from our LifterLMS course creator community group. We have our mastermind group that has some more interesting, deep technical strategy kind of questions going on. And also our weekly mastermind call, me and Kurt will be signing on to in about an hour from now. We do that once a week as a Zoom call where we dive into tech strategy and just hanging out in that Facebook group as well. So yeah, check out that coupon code, write it down, save that if you're interested in purchasing any Lifter add-ons.
Here we go.
Oh, nice. I loaded that thing into the brand area just on the call here.
You did what?
I loaded it into the brand area there.
Oh, did you do the one that was clean, or did you do the one that had the big white banner behind it?
It says clean.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Clean Streaks MP4.
Yeah, I didn't know it was there. I didn't know it was there.
I just threw it
do
up.
a shared screen.
I just threw it up. Yeah, we'll
Site in minutes.
Nice.
I got to say that with my jazz voice. Launch a course site within minutes.
That would be a good one to put on the MP4. We could easily put the MP4 into a video editing service and then just put your audio there in the background.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's interesting that there's sort of an idea that with complex tech companies that there's some kind of magic happening in the background. I was talking to someone about Canva recently, and they were trying to do a shadow. Like on our LifterLMS product images, we have like a shadow. I could probably share my screen and show what I'm talking about. Like I'm trying to describe the shadow to you. Where was they were trying to create graphic assets that look like I don't know, SkyPilot has a nice screen for this. Like this right here.
Yeah, drop shadow.
There's a little bit of a drop shadow, but Canva doesn't have a drop shadow feature that I could find, which was kind of surprising because like in Photoshop, it's a nice drop shadow and everything. But that shadow you see is like a 75% translucent fog picture that's colored to black. So it's like we literally have an image, like a PNG file that's like a shadow in the background as a part of this layer of this graphic design. And
giving
so
away the secrets.
Yeah, it's so fancy. Like, how did you figure out how to do a drop shadow? It's like, what, like if you think about the principles of like what is a shadow? I guess since the tool doesn't have a shadow feature, let's just come up with a creative way to do a shadow. And Kim, who does our designs, is super creative like that.
She's awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's another design concept. I love learning about new design concepts like white space and balance and depth. This is an example of depth on the page, like creating this 3D effect using drop shadows and stuff.
Dude, I'm all about white space. Like the latest iteration I have of like Power Sport Academy is just like, that's it, like lots of spaces.
Yeah, it helps your eyes like relax and focus on what's important, I guess.
Cool, I guess. Paragraphs.
Absolutely. I'm typing out the response here to Chris in our Office Hours Mastermind Facebook group. But we could wrap up the call for today. Thanks everyone who joined us live and dropped in questions. If you see this stream on any platform after we're no longer live, drop a comment and a question and we'll answer it next time we're live. Will Middleton and Kurt Von Onen from LifterLMS signing out, and we'll see you next week.